Frank who? Francis Sheehy Skeffington see. He's forgotten, ignored, and by many who know who he was, he's ridiculed and laughed at. Why? Because in Dublin, in Easter week of 1916, James Joyce's best friend, the little atheist he called Hairy Jaysus, was trying to stop the looting. Isn't that a good one? Thousands putting their lives on the line, occupying buildings all over Dublin, firing bullets for the freedom of fucking Ireland, and Skeffy was trying to stop the looting. What a gobshite he must have been. A clown, a bloody buffoon. Very fucking hairy taking such a Jaysus and Figari. Why did he do it? What was he thinking of? Why? This is Hairy Jaysus's cross and passion. Francis Sheehy Skeffington in the stations of the... not cross. The stations of the crank, a small instrument that makes revolutions. Liberty Hall, Dublin, noon, Easter Monday 1916. The illustrious occasion is about to commence. James Connolly musters the Irish Citizens' Army and the Irish Volunteers. The cause of Ireland is the cause of Labour, and the cause of Labour is the cause of... Frank Sheehy Skeffington, hanging round the edges. Comrade Connolly, a point of order. By whose authority is this armed alliance being convened? I push him into a back alley till Connolly gives the order, and off the march around the corner to the GPO and into the history books. James Connolly, friend, comrade, why do you deny me? City Hall, Dublin, 1 p.m, Easter Monday 1916. A soldier gashed open on the side of City Hall. Skeffy to the chemist on the corner. A bayonet accident, terrible mess. Skips back with bundles of bandages clutched to find that the soldier's been dragged inside the gates of Dublin Castle. Cross, fire. Skeffy flattens up against the doorway. Lucky he didn't put the weight back on after the hunger strike last year. Silence in court! Francis Sheehy Skeffington, you're found guilty of sedition for making 40 speeches against recruitment to His Majesty's Armed Forces. That's right, 40. The castle spy who followed me can count. Though he missed a fair few, I wouldn't give him the full 30 pieces of silver if I were you. Damn pity I didn't get to make another 40 anti-war speeches too. Silence! Should I be silent while the slaughter of the innocent proceeds, when articulate resistance to this organised murder is deemed to be a crime? Damn your war. Non serviam. I will not serve, I will not kowtow, I will not bow and scrape. Any sentence you pass on me is a sentence passed on British rule in Ireland. The Irish people do not subscribe to this imperialistic war. I sentence you to 1 year's hard labour. See if you'll be as vocal in the Stonebreaker's yard. Try as you might, you'll not shut me up. Long before the expiration of my sentence, I will be out of prison, alive or dead. Remove this unmanageable crank from my court. Damn your war. Nelson's Pillar, 4 p.m, Easter Monday 1916. Hannah in a rush to the GPO. Frank says, no, my place is on the outside, I won't join in. Frank, we're officially citizens of the Irish Republic. The proclamation guarantees equal rights for everyone, men and women. What we have campaigned for has been achieved, worth celebrating. Well, you go so, Hannah. But don't stay long. When the response comes, it will be sudden and it will be strong. Hannah. Coming up to Christmas 1900, the wheezy Sheehy doorbell clangs. I enter in my jaunty new +4s. I'm a different kind of student, come all the way from Cavan via down, my knickerbockers scream. James Joyce giddies in behind me. Get out of my way, hairy Jaysus. And he makes a beeline for the wines and continental cheeses. Hannah, and her sister Mary, lead the charades, and Joyce soon maroons into Greek mythology. Pretends he's Aphrodite stepping from her clamshell. Coily covers his peewee. I become one of Botticelli's three graces. Twee, with Hannah and Mary she-he. Hand in hand we twirl, nimble nymphs so fey. I see us nude with our buried food at hand. I sway my beard from side to the rowdy, crowdy knickerbocker kick. Hannah's haunches, hips sheer, I try not to leer. A pearl hangs from her neat vermeer. Hannah focused, gaze straight, no jokey pupils dilate. Fingers touch the gentlest stroke. I cough, trip, nearly choke. Hannah. But I will not follow you to the GPO for a gun-toting tete-a-tete with McDermott and Connolly. I've been consigned to the outside, so be it. Shop windows smash up the street. People appear wearing silk top hats and fur stoles. Would you look at the state of me now? Would you look at the state of me now? The state of me now. Marooned in no man's land. They call it the Rock of Futility. It's an isolated shore where no rain falls, where no wind blows, where no bird calls, where no plant grows. Stillness in a sea of cobblestone and glass. Men I knew chiseling loopholes in brick and rolling gigantic wooden printer spools as barricades. And I stand stuck, tied in the idle of futility. Grosvenor Square, Rathmines, 8 p.m. Easter Monday 1916. Silence. Huff. Owen put to bed. Hannah, stuff to discuss. Her brow knit, her cheeks puff. You knew that the rising was going to happen and you didn't tell me. I was sworn to silence, Frank, but not to me, especially to you. By whom? By James Connolly. And why did you agree? He asked me to be one of 5 members of a civil government to be declared if the leaders of the rising were killed. A woman in government, Frank, the first time ever. Even if theoretical and anyway only nominal, but still significant. I feel like a little boy, sitting at my father's knee, the school inspector educating me at home, manipulating my influences till I broke free. James Connolly couldn't look at me today, and now I know why. I'm sorry, Frank. Not enough. Silence. Huff. Coming home from the 1900 Hannah advent, I stick a sprig of cherry blossom in my hair. Is this love, Joyce? What do you think? He says, a poet must write tragedy, not act in it. I will act in the comedy, the tragedy, the work, the play, whatever life, love makes it, come what may. Life, love. Lie of. I will lie of. The Irish Women's Franchise League office, Westmoreland Street, Tuesday, the 25th of April 1916. Frank on his hands and knees, charcoaling on big squares of paper. No looting by order, the anti-looting committee. Hannah rushes up the stairs. Time to go home, Frank. Things are getting out of control. Oh, well, indeed, quelle surprise. Army reinforcements are encroaching the city, tightening their grip. Well, your confidant, James Connolly, said organise, educate and agitate for years, but the war reminds him of his British Army days in India and the forthright method sometimes required to get things done. So he starts training and drilling in the use of guns, and now he talks about our gallant allies, the Germans, as if they're somehow less imperialistic than our own John Bull, when if anything they're arguably even worse in their treatment of Africans. Frank, our friends and comrades, including James Connolly, have held the city centre for 30 hours against the most powerful empire on earth. Is this not a matter of considerable joy? Well, if it is joy, it is dangerous joy. All I can do is to try and stop the looting so it doesn't look like hooligans run amok. That is the only role left open to me now. That is what I have been reduced to, thanks to Connolly and to you. Frank, that gunfire we hear, that is the sound of challenge, not compliance. But it's challenged the old way, the same methods of armed aggression and blind obedience. Where there are guns, there must be obedience. Oh, this is futile. I'm on my bloody knees. There is nowhere I can stand, nowhere I can speak, nowhere I can make a case against the military spirit that infects humanity. I'm a pacifist journalist who can no longer make a living. Oh, well, I can. Just about. I teach. We're equal, remember. She, he, Skeffington. I haven't had a jot published since I went to jail. London, Dublin, it doesn't matter. They're agreed. I've been expelled from the citadel to a slow death on the stony plain like Dante's doomed friend Cavalcante. Melodrama, Frank. Well, you know you've a weakness for it. Melodrama, farce, it doesn't matter because no one is coming. No one is coming to my anti-looting committee meeting because they think I'm a bloody buffoon. A bloody buffoon. That's what your dad called you when you joined my name to yours, she, he, Skeffington. And as a consequence, a lot of people think I'm an aristocratic, double-barreled toff. Kelly's of Portobello, 6 p.m, Easter Tuesday, 1916. Dixon, with a cheque for a tenner in advance from Kelly, the loyalist councillor publican, who wants me to print and post up on walls the King's proclamation of martial law, telling everyone to go home or get shot. You see, Kelly's been fleeced of a stock of fine wines and expensive cigars by the tenement dwellers at the back of his building. Fair enough, I say. So we run around trying to knock up every bloody printer I know, but it's getting a bit harum-scarum because the rebels are popping up everywhere. I've no idea where they are, and the soldiers are making sorties from Portobello Barracks. When who do I see walking up the middle of the street from town with a brush, a bucket of paste and a roll of posters? Only the man I used to report for making seditious speeches, Francis Sheehy Skeffington. Hairy feckin' Jaysus. The checkpoint, 7 p.m, Easter Tuesday, 1916. We just secured the canal bridge when you saw the crowd approaching. This man's been putting up rebel posters, says the first. My name is Francis Sheehy Skeffington. I'm a militant pacifist and proud to say I have been jailed for it, but those are not rebel posters, those are anti-looting posters. I believe that property, as well as having its duties, which is far too often loath to perform, also has its rights, until such time as due democratic process wisely decrees otherwise. Burst of gunfire. Half a mile away. Take him in. The guard room. Portobello Barracks. 9 p.m. Easter Tuesday, 1916. You were carrying rebel posters. Admit it. Them posters had nothing got to do with the rebels or anything, only me and the organisation that I set up today, the People's Committee Against Looting. That means me. I am the People's Committee Against Looting because nobody else showed up. I'd intended to put up the posters, but it got too dangerous, so I decided to go home, which didn't please me as I like to be at the centre of things. I saw 2 priests attack you a couple of years ago at Kingsbridge Station during the lockout. That's right. They said I was doing Satan's work by bringing some workers' hungry children to be well fed in the safety of Kildare till the lockout dispute was resolved. When the children tried to stop the priest from kicking me to death, this was taken as proof that I was indeed the devil's advocate. I was the one who picked you up. Were you? Well, thank you belatedly. As you can see, I've survived thanks to my padding. Your padding? Yes, my father's cricket padding, fitted to protect the stomach and kidneys. I wear it under my clothes whenever I'm at risk of clobbering. Are you wearing it now? What bits of it are left? rebel uniform. We spend 2 years risking our lives and the lives of our men, many of them horribly slaughtered, and you prance around in your homegrown uniform and stab us in the back. Lieutenant, strip this hairy Jesus of his rebel robes. The Stone Yard, Portobello Barracks, Wednesday the 26th of April 1916. At 10 a.m. the captain told me to bring Sheehy, Skeffington, Dixon and McIntyre to the Stone Yard. I did it. The captain told me to get 7 men with rifles. I did it. He told me to tell the men to go to the wall. Go to the wall! Ready, present, fire! 3 men fell. One of the men still moved. Sheehy, Skeffington. I advocate no mere servile, lazy acquiescence in injustice. I want the age-long fight against injustice to clothe itself in new forms suited to a new age. I want the manhood of Ireland no longer to be hypnotised by the horrors of organised murder. We are on the threshold of a new era in human history. Nothing can be as it was before. The foundations of all things must be re-examined. Formerly, we could only imagine the chaos to which we have been led by the military spirit. But now we realise it and must never fall into that abyss again. I gather 4 of the men and I lead them back to the Stone Yard. I tell them to take aim at the moving man. He looks at me and says, Layov. And I fire a bullet in his head to make sure he was dead.